Hey guys, it's Evan. Welcome to the wonderful world of stock music musician. And today I just want to talk about a few things that I'd really like to see happen in Reason 10 now that it's been announced. Now, obviously, more plugins are great, more sounds are great, but I've had a few days to think about the announcement. And really what I'd like to see Propellerhead do with their updates now that we've got rack extensions and VSTs is to focus more on the core functionality of Reason, and leave the other things to other people. Not that they can't do it as well, but there are a lot of shortcomings in Reason that I'd love to see fixed. I've made a huge list of them previously in a couple of videos, but here's 5 or 6 things that I'd really like to see in upcoming Reason 10. None of them have been announced, but I feel like they're kind of the small things by and large that maybe wouldn't necessarily be announced. They're just going to be there. Fingers crossed. So the first one is improved performance. Everybody's been asking for that. But now that, releasing the VST support in version 9.5 and saying it's sort of still under development is fine. I get it. It's like a bonus. It's a freebie for Reason 9.0 users. And it's like, wow, this is an awesome thing. But now that we're going to Reason 10 and it's an official release and we're expecting Reason to, be a full-on DAW, I think they really need to provide much, much, much better, more stable, and more importantly, better performance for the use of VSTs and also smoother integration. So hopefully they've been doing a lot on the back end of the engines to increase the VST performance. The second thing I'd really like to see, and this, I've heard other people talk about this before, but we've got the ability to we've got this beautiful mixer in Reason, but I love to be able to load in emulations of other mixers. Now there's workarounds to this. You can use Waves NLS coupled with some, Waves emulations of SSL or API plugins, or, Sound Toys has certain emulations, Slate, all of them do, and you can slot them in, but it would be great if it worked not on the level of a plugin, but literally on the level of loading in a mixer, and then every channel would work that way instead of having to have the mixer basically be almost like prehensile, where you don't use the mixer aside from panning and volume, and you do all the EQ and the emulated sections down below. I'd really like to see it where we could just pop in a new mixer and get a different sound and emulation there. The next thing I'd like to see in Reason, is sort of a timeline that would be visible both in the rack extension mode and in the mixer mode. Other DAWs have this, definitely Harrison Mixbus does, a few others do, but really what it allows you to do is it's a little mini strip of the timeline, so you can go back and forth without having to flip windows or open and close tabs. It's right there on the window. It's not accurate, it's not useful, it's not incredibly detailed, but you can easily go, jump from the chorus to the verse or go back a spot just by dragging it around. That would be wonderful. That would really help the mixing and editing process. The next thing I'd like to see is the ability to add bookmarks to sections. Now, that means like the ability to, have a chorus or a verse or all the parts, the hook, the breakdown, and then you could have like a little list of them along the side, or even just on a right-click menu, and you could jump to that part based on the name that you gave it. And then also on the miniature little things, you could quickly jump around and see where you are, instead of having to scroll to the next part of the song. This would save a lot of time, and a lot of DAWs have implemented it. The next thing I'd like to see is a favorites list. When you right-click to add a instrument or a effect, there's not a favorites list that's easily available. Now there's the right list side of the list on the browser, and that's great, but oftentimes you're in things and just right-clicking to add. And in that case, it would be great to have a favorites list that you could configure with your favorite plugins or effects and quickly get to them. The next thing I'd like to see is the ability to actually save the project files and the underlying audio data separately. And by this I mean, like, you might have alternate mixes where you change the volumes and the effects and all of that, but the WAV files underlying it are all basically the same. And so instead of having to make like a 1 gigabyte save of every version of your mix, the only thing that would really be saved is the changes you made to the MIDI, the Reason project side of it, not the underlying waves. And if you change the waves, that would change too, but they would all be drawing from a common batch of wave files instead of having to isolate the waves with each individual save. And this would make it, I think, a lot easier to improve your mixing and speed up your mixing. And the final thing I'd like to see, for now at least, I'm sure I'm going to think of more, but is the ability just to auto-save. I know you can manually save, I know you should manually save, and I often do manually save, but sometimes you don't, and Reason has just become slightly less stable now that the VSTs are here. And when you lose a project, you lose, an hour's worth of work. That really sucks. And this is sort of related to the mini saves, but it seems like it should be making at least periodic auto saves in a backup folder. Microsoft Word's had this for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. So yeah, those are the 6 things I'd like to see. If you've got anything that you'd like to see changed in Reason 10, leave it in the comments below. And also be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we're going to bring you all the latest on Reason 10 and using Reason 9. Thanks a lot.